So the new rule involving the kickoff, we've seen it in the preseason, and I will give you the floor for those who are still looking at it going, my goodness, I've never seen anything like that before, and what the new rule is and the intent of the NFL for placing it in. Walt.
Really, two main goals, Rich, with the intent. Number one, try to make the kickoff safer. And number two, try to make it more relevant than what it has been in recent years with so many touchbacks. So, relative to the safety part, one of the things that's always been a concern is the speed and space, that occurs with the traditional kickoff. So we've established setup zones that are only 5 yards apart. So you don't have as much distance that the players are going to be running before they end up contacting each other. And then with a landing zone concept that was developed for the rule, the idea is to put the ball in the landing zone so that it incentivizes the receiving team to return the ball. There's a little more of a consequence if you end up kicking it through the end zone, and that is instead of the ball, potentially being at or around the 20 or 25-yard line, it's going to be put out at the 30-yard line. And if you land it short of the landing zone, it's going to be treated like an out of bounds, and you're coming all the way to the 40.
So what do you say in response to a lot of coaches, and I'm sure you've heard it, and I'm sure this was discussed maybe at the most recent membership meeting, that a lot of coaches think the 30 is not punitive enough and that we'll still see balls pounded through for a touchback anyway, and just say, screw it, we'll give you the ball in the 30, that maybe if you placed it at the 35, that would cause a lot of coaches, certainly in the fourth quarter of games in which they're up by more than a field goal, to just say, I'll play defense for 70 yards rather than risk somebody creasing that zone and just getting one-on-one with the kicker. What do you say to that, Walt?
Yeah, I think you're right, Rich, in that is, we really don't know what it's going to end up looking like in the regular season because, this, all the teams are going to hold back from what they kind of show in the preseason. So relative to the strategies, there's probably going to be a lot of factors that end up coming into play. How good do I feel about my cover team or my return team? The dynamics and game situation in a particular game. And there are going to be those that just say exactly like you said, we'll just kick it through the end zone and we'll play defense from the 30. So much is going to end up, I think, depending upon what this thing really looks like when we get regular season play under our belt and just see what the analytics look like. How much do you give up whenever you end up putting the ball at the 30? Rather than on average, it's traditionally been around the 25-yard line for drive starts in recent years. So there's a lot of unknown, and the proof will be in the pudding, so to speak.
So
we'll just have to see what it looks like, and we're all going to learn from it from that standpoint in terms of not just how to play it, but also how to officiate it.
But you also know that the league frowns upon switching anything up once games are played, right?
You're spot on with that. That's correct.
So if waiting to see proof in the pudding,
anticipates a major significant change. There may be, as a matter of fact, the competition committee is going to be meeting this week to just maybe take a look at just a few little really, really minor tweaks relative to alignments. How the officiating staff, how strict are they going to be, with movements and things like that. But that's really not a substantive change in the rule.
So 30-yard line it is. That's even if we see tons of kickoffs go through for touchbacks anyway, and this rule doesn't affect anything, we won't see a change during the season. You don't think?
Yeah, I'm not seeing, Rich, just in terms of I just don't see a lot of support for moving it from the current 20, 30, 40. Those are the 3-yard lines. There was certainly a lot of discussion and has been, about what do we do with the 35? Would it be easier to just have 2 lines, the 20 and the 35? And the whole evolution of this play, it started off with the original recommendation being the 35-yard line, but too many of the clubs felt like that was just too much of an advantage without first seeing how this thing really looks with regular season play.
And again, so for an onside kick to happen, it must be declared, right? Somebody's got to.
Correct. Yeah, that was a major change. The only time you're going to see onside kicks are in the fourth quarter, and that's going to be if you're behind in score. You have to then declare that to the referee. And if we end up having an onside kick, we'll just go back and administer the rules like the onside kick rules were last year, with only one exception, and that's you can't kick the ball farther than 25 yards if it's untouched, because they didn't want to have some gamesmanship played where people declared an onside kick and then just try to put you down there and race your people down there and recover it.
Interesting. Walk us through the pushback that you've heard or been privy to on making an offensive play, like a 4th and 15, if you will, instead of an onside kick, going for that to try and change that rule instead of just an onside kick. Let's get one shot to try and get a first down for a team. Why not that idea?
Yeah, that's really been a rule proposal that's been proposed the last several years. It ends up being debated, both with the competition committee as well as the general membership. And I know there are a number of teams, that support that. But up to this point, there's more teams that would rather just stick with the conventional onside kick rather than going to some alternative.
Catch the Rich Eisen Show every single day on the Roku channel, 12 to 3 Eastern, for free.